What if I told you that one of the most important muscles in your entire body has probably been slowly switching off for years, and you had no idea? Most people over 50 blame their bad knees, their achy lower back, or just getting older for the way they feel. But here's the truth that most doctors never take the time to explain. The real culprit behind your back pain, your poor balance, your stiff hips, and even the way you walk, is very likely your glutes. These are the muscles sitting right underneath you, and chances are they have gone quiet. Today, we're going to talk about why that happens, what it means for your body, and most importantly, what you could do about it starting right now. Let's start with something simple. Stand up for just a moment and squeeze the muscles in your backside as hard as you can. Go ahead. Now hold that for 2 seconds. If that felt awkward, weak, or if you honestly were not sure whether anything was actually happening, that right there's a sign your glutes may have stopped working the way they should. This is not your fault. It is not laziness. It is something called gluteal amnesia, and it is far more common in adults over 50 than most people realize. Gluteal amnesia is essentially what happens when your glute muscles forget how to fire properly. They stop activating the way they were designed to, and over time, other muscles in your body have to pick up the slack. Your lower back takes on extra load. Your knees absorb more stress than they were built for. Your hips start to compensate. And slowly, without any dramatic injury or obvious warning sign, your body starts to feel older than it should. Now you might be wondering, how does this even happen? How do your glutes just forget how to work? The answer is actually sitting. Literally. Think about how much time most of us spend sitting down in a day. Whether it is at a desk, in a car, watching television, or eating meals, the average American spends somewhere between 8 and 12 hours a day sitting. And when you sit, your glutes are completely switched off. They're not doing anything. They're just resting there, being compressed, while your hip flexors, the muscles at the front of your hips, are held in a shortened, tight position. Over months and years, this pattern teaches your nervous system that the glutes are not really needed, and your brain, being the efficient system that it is, starts to route muscle activation away from them. Here is why that matters so much once you cross 50. After the age of 50, your body is already dealing with something called sarcopenia, which is just a scientific word for the natural loss of muscle mass that comes with aging. Every decade after 30, adults lose somewhere between 3 and 8% of their muscle mass. After 50, that process speeds up, and the glutes, being the largest muscle group in your body, are hit especially hard. So you are dealing with two problems at once. You have natural age-related muscle loss happening on one side, and then on top of that, you have a lifestyle-driven pattern where those muscles are not even being asked to do their job properly. Together, these two things create a situation that can quietly rob you of your strength, your stability, and your independence over time. And the effects are not just limited to your backside. Weak glutes set off a chain reaction throughout the whole body. Think of your glutes as the anchor of your lower half. They stabilize your pelvis. They support your spine. They control the way your leg moves when you walk, climb stairs, or get up from chair. When that anchor is weak or inactive, everything connected to it becomes unstable. That is why so many people over 50 develop chronic lower back pain with no clear injury to explain it. That is why hip problems become so common. That is why falls become a growing concern. Because without strong, active glutes, your balance and your ability to quickly stabilize yourself when you start to tip are significantly reduced. One thing that surprises a lot of people is that you can have glutes that look somewhat normal or even feel sore sometimes, and they can still be functionally weak. Soreness does not always mean a muscle is working well. It can just mean it is being overworked in a limited way, or that surrounding muscles are straining because they're doing a job the glutes should be doing. So do not assume that because your backside does not feel completely numb that everything is fine. The real test is whether those muscles are actually activating correctly during movement. And for many adults over 50, they simply are not. The good news, and this is really important, is that gluteal amnesia is not permanent. Your muscles have not disappeared. They're still there. They just need to be woken back up with the right kind of movement done consistently. And that is exactly what we're going to get into as we move through this video. So now that you understand what is happening and why, let's talk about what waking your glutes back up actually looks like in real life. And I want to be clear right from the start, this is not about going to the gym 5 days a week or doing some extreme fitness program. This is about simple, targeted movements that you can do at home, many of them while lying on the floor or standing next to your kitchen counter, that specifically train your brain and your muscles to reconnect with each other. The first thing to understand is that before you can strengthen your glutes, you have to teach them to activate again. This is a step that most people skip, and it is the reason why a lot of exercise programs do not deliver the results people are hoping for. You can do squats all day long, but if your glutes are not firing properly during those squats, your quads and your lower back are doing most of the work, and your glutes are just along for the ride. So the very first step is something called neuromuscular activation, which simply means practicing the connection between your brain and your muscle before you start loading it with movement. The easiest way to do this is with something called a glute bridge. You lie on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor, about hip width apart. Before you lift anything, you simply squeeze your glutes as tight as you can for about 3 seconds while keeping your back flat on the ground. Just squeeze and hold, then release. Do this 5 or 6 times before you even think about lifting your hips off the floor. This simple squeezing exercise is retraining your nervous system to recognize and activate those muscles on command. It sounds almost too easy to matter, but this step is genuinely foundational. Once you have done that activation work for a week or so, and you start to feel that squeeze becoming more natural and more powerful, then you move into the full glute bridge. You squeeze, and this time you press your feet into the floor and lift your hips up until your body forms a straight line from your knees to your shoulders. Hold that position for 2 to 3 seconds at the top, really focusing on squeezing hard up there, and then lower yourself back down slowly. The slow lowering is just as important as the lift because that controlled descent is where a lot of the muscle building actually happens. Now, if getting down on the floor is difficult for you right now, that is completely okay. There's a standing version of the same idea called a standing glute squeeze, where you simply stand tall, feet about hip width apart, and you squeeze both glutes as hard as you can for 5 seconds, then release. You can do this while standing at the kitchen counter, waiting for your coffee to brew, or even during commercial breaks. It is not flashy, but done consistently every single day, it starts to rebuild that neural pathway between your brain and those muscles. Another movement that is incredibly effective for adults over 50 is the clamshell exercise. You lie on your side with your hips and knees bent at about a 45-degree angle, and you slowly lift your top knee upward like a clamshell opening, while keeping your feet together and your hips stacked. The key here is to move slowly and to feel the work happening in the side of your hip and backside, rather than letting your whole body rotate to compensate. This exercise targets the gluteus medius, which is the muscle on the outer side of your hip that plays a huge role in balance and stability when you are walking or climbing stairs. Consistency matters far more than intensity here. Doing 10 minutes of these targeted exercises every morning will produce far better results than doing one long workout once a week and nothing in between. Your nervous system learns through repetition. The more frequently you practice these movements with good focus and proper form, the faster your glutes will start to wake up, and the more automatically they will begin to engage during everyday activities like walking, standing up from a chair, or going up a flight of stairs. One more thing worth mentioning in this section is the role of stretching, because tight hip flexors are a major reason glutes stay switched off. Spending even 5 minutes a day gently stretching the front of your hips can make a meaningful difference in how well your glutes respond. A simple kneeling hip flexor stretch, where you step one foot forward and lower your opposite knee to the ground, and then gently press your hips forward, held for about 30 seconds on each side, can begin to release that tension and create the conditions your glutes need to activate properly. Now let's talk about something that goes beyond just exercise, because waking up your glutes and keeping them strong over the long term is also connected to some everyday habits that most people never think about. And once you start making these small adjustments, you will likely notice changes not just in your strength, but in how your whole body feels on a daily basis. The first habit is about how you sit. Since prolonged sitting is one of the main reasons your glutes go quiet in the first place, one of the most powerful things you can do is simply break up your sitting time throughout the day. You do not need to stand all day or buy a special desk. You just need to make a habit of getting up every 30 to 45 minutes and standing or walking for 2 to 3 minutes. Set a timer on your phone if you need to. That brief interruption is enough to remind your muscles that they exist and to keep circulation moving through the tissue. Over time, this one habit alone can slow down the deactivation cycle significantly. The second habit is about how you walk. Most people over 50 have developed a walking pattern that does not use the glutes the way they should be used. Without realizing it, many people shuffle forward using mostly their quads and hip flexors, with very little push from behind. The glutes are supposed to be driving each step forward, generating power as your back leg pushes off the ground. A simple way to start correcting this is to focus on that push-off phase when you walk. Think about pressing your back foot into the ground and driving yourself forward with each step. It feels a little exaggerated at first, but with practice, it becomes natural, and it turns every walk you take into an opportunity to strengthen your glutes rather than just wear out your knees. The third habit involves protein, because muscles cannot rebuild themselves without the raw materials to do it. After the age of 50, your body becomes less efficient at using the protein you eat to build and maintain muscle. This means that many older adults are not getting enough protein even when they think they are eating reasonably well. Most research suggests that adults over 50 benefit from aiming for somewhere around 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight per day, spread across meals. Good sources include eggs, chicken, fish, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, and legumes. You do not need to overhaul your entire diet overnight, but simply adding a little more protein to each meal can support the muscle rebuilding process in a meaningful way. Now let's bring this all together with something that I think is really motivating to understand. Every single improvement you make in your glute strength has a ripple effect through your entire body in your daily life. When your glutes are strong and active, your lower back pain often decreases because your spine is better supported. Your knees feel better because they're no longer being asked to compensate for a weak hip and backside. Your balance improves, which directly reduces your risk of falling. And for adults over 50, a serious fall can truly be life-changing in the worst way. Your posture improves. Your walking becomes more effortless. You feel more stable and confident on stairs, on uneven ground, and in any situation where your body needs to react quickly. People often tell stories about how they spent years blaming their age for the way they felt, only to discover that a few consistent changes to how they moved and took care of their muscles made them feel genuinely younger and more capable than they had in a long time. That is not a miracle. That is just what happens when you give your body what it actually needs. And the beautiful thing is that it is never too late to start. The research on muscle recovery and neuromuscular retraining consistently shows that adults in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s can make real, meaningful improvements in muscle strength and function when they commit to the right kind of movement done regularly. So here is what I want you to take away from today. Your glutes are not gone. They are not lost. They are just waiting to be called back into action. Start with that simple squeeze today. Add the glute bridge this week. Break up your sitting every 45 minutes. Focus on that push-off when you walk. Add a little more protein to your meals. And do it consistently, day after day, because consistency is the only thing that truly transforms how your body feels and functions over time. If this video gave you something useful today, please take a moment to leave a comment below and let me know what you're going to try first. Your feedback means a lot, and it helps this channel reach more people who could really use this information. And if you want to keep getting practical, honest health content made specifically for adults over 50, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. Finally, an important note before you go. Everything shared in this video is for educational purposes only and is based on general health and fitness research. It is not intended as medical advice. Please consult your doctor or a qualified healthcare professional before beginning any new exercise or health routine, especially if you have existing injuries, chronic conditions, or any concerns about your physical health. Your safety always comes first,